It's time to find out just how good our backups can be. This is the Arsenal Vision pre-match live stream. My name is Alex Smith, Blackman, Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Yeah, look, Liverpool, stop me if you've heard this before, have miraculously recovered from COVID crisis. Just so unlucky with all those false positives. Darn it. But now look, they're able to put out this big, strong side. And I just feel so happy for them that they've recovered. And I'm so happy that you're here. We love you. Thank you for being here. You know what? Derby Day on Sunday. That's the day I've got my eye on, but we can't just go past that. So we're going to bring in Jess. We're going to talk about this game. Paul's going to be here. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk Vlahovic. Maybe we'll just ignore this game. I don't know. You decide. Get in the chat. Get in the comments. Tell me what you think. Here's Jess. You can find her on Twitter at It's Jessinho. Hello, Jess.
Hey, how are you?
Oh man, I'm great. I'm great. So look, we got to just dive into the meat right off the bat. Ben, Manscaped makes amazing products. I think we can all agree on that. They're not face shavers, really. I mean, that's not really what they're for. Also, I'm trying to show you this haggard look, this rough, haggard look. I've been to Las Vegas. You know, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing, having been in that studio that we have in Las Vegas. But like, it takes a toll on you. You know, what happens in Vegas, you wear on your face for the following week. So, Jess, how do you feel about how strong Liverpool look? I am just so happy for them that they have recovered from their challenges. Good for them.
I mean, did anybody think that they were going to go with some sort of weekend lineup? I tried to look at their next couple of fixtures, and they have absolutely no reason to rest players because this is probably their biggest match in the next couple of weeks. So it's not really that big of a surprise. You know, it is what it is. I looked at their website last night. Everybody is fit, ready to go. But like besides like Thiago and Salah and Mane. And so it's basically as strong as they could potentially go. And when the game was originally postponed, and we're going to play this one first, and then the postponed match would be after that, I just thought when we get to this particular match, it's going to be interesting to see what shape we're actually in. And shock, we're not in great shape, and they are in amazing shape. So This is just the reality of the situation that we're in. And I'll be watching this one from behind the couch for sure, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of these things, Jess. So let's just get into this before we dive in our lineup, their lineup. Given that we now know how strong they have gone, and granted, they're still missing some pretty important players, let's be honest, but given what we know, where's your head at in terms of this versus Sunday? I'm going to give you the most obvious answer for me in a moment, but where's your head at this versus Sunday?
Well, I mean, we know that this is not really your jam, Elliot. You are more concerned about the derby and all of that. I understand that. I think, of course, I think the game on Sunday is more important. And we might have a better chance of putting out a stronger lineup then against a weaker side, because Spurs is not Liverpool, and we all kind of know that. It's a 6-pointer. It's big for the top 4 race. And West Ham have somehow stayed in and around, and so we need to be getting those points. But I think cups are not just as important, but they're important in a different way. And from my perspective, I think winning the FA Cup has been a big reason why Arteta is still here after some really difficult times. So we can't underplay the importance of winning trophies. But in the run of games that we have right now, it just seems like we don't have a strong enough, first 14, first 16, to really make it work. So we just have to pick and choose our priorities. And it seems like it would be Sunday. And yeah, but for me, it's disheartening knowing that if the result goes badly today, that we could potentially be out of both cups so early on. The FA Cup one hit me really hard. The League Cup is kind of like, well, we're never really good in that one. So it is what it is. But I would like to see us at least make it so that we could be excited for the second leg, and not so it's just an exercise in Liverpool just having fun while we just look sad and pathetic.
Look, I mean, this is how I feel about things, right? Like, I said this about the FA Cup too. I want to win all the cups. I want to win all the games. I want to win all the competitions, like obviously. But there is such a thing as prioritization. There is. And we have won FA Cups at really tricky times for the club, and it has buoyed us, or sorry, my English friends, buoyed us. But it has not fixed the ultimate problem, which is we should be in the Champions League. We should be competing for big trophies. We should be competing for titles. And the way we get there is we get back in the Champions League. And I don't think any of us really thought top four was available to us to start the season, but it is available to us now. Scott did a pre-match preview of the Derby the other day because he's not going to have time the next few days. And he said that our odds, if we win the Derby for top four, are over 44%, which is really strong when you factor in all the competition. If we lose the Derby, 17%, and a draw is in the 30s. It is I love the fabled 6-pointers, but Jess, there is so much on the line for this club. Think of the players we can attract to the Champions League. Think of seeing Arsenal back in the Champions League. Think of what it means to then try to take the next step with Saka and Martinelli and Smith Rowe to get to a title contender, to be what Liverpool have managed to be. And ultimately, if we win the League Cup, while I will say, yay, that was fun, if it even reduces our chance of getting back to that top table of football a few percentage points and we lose it, I guess I put it to you this way. Here, there's a question at the end of all this. Jess, if I offered you the League Cup and Europa League or no trophy and Champions League next season, which do you take?
Of course, I'll take a Champions League and no trophy. I guess I'm not. It would all feel worth it to go through these troubles if at the end of the season we actually got it, or even if at the end of this week we're celebrating a North London Derby win. I just can't get myself to feel super excited about it if it hasn't happened yet. And we know how North London derbies are away from home. We already played the one at home. When we go to the toilet bowl, things are different, So if you ask me that question after the North London Derby, then I'll be like, yeah, it was all worth it. Who cares? Oh, well, we bombed out all the cups. Hey, whatever. But until then, I'm kind of like, I would like to see us play decent. But I hear what you're saying. And our lineup is
to be clear, I'm about to put it on the screen. I am not saying, because this is the problem with false binders. I'm putting the lineup out on the screen, by the way, everyone. It's coming right now. I think there is a suggestion that you can only do one of two things, right? You can only go for the league or you can go for the cups. And I want to be clear, you can go for both. You can play well tonight with a strong lineup and then still play well in the Derby on Sunday. I'm not suggesting you can't. I'm just talking about if there's a risk, if there's a guy whose fitness is in question, if it's not clear, then, I would not push it. So here's the nice thing. Here's our lineup. And by the way, we'll get to your comments in a moment. Get them in. We're going to start throwing those up on the screen, I promise. So, all right. We don't get Tomiyasu back. Hopefully we have him for the weekend because I think we saw with Cedric in the FA Cup, not good enough. White, Gabriel, Tierney, first choice. Ramsdale, there was a big debate on the Arscast about whether it be Ramsdale or Leno. And James, to his credit, thought it would be Ramsdale. It is Ramsdale. Xhaka Lokonga, I think, is our strongest midfield we can do right now. So we get to see it. And if it works, we get to go back to that presumably on Sunday. So I think it's good that we get to see that. And Lokonga looked rusty against Forest. So for Sambi, I think this is important. Saka, Lacazette, Martinelli, and Nketiah. Sort of a weird one there. I'm not really sure because system-wise, is Lacazette going to play the Odegaard role? No Odegaard. Do we know what's behind that with Odegaard? Do we think he'll be available for the NLD? Because we saw with Nketiah against Forest, for example, probably not the level we're going to need in that game.
Yeah, we don't know about Odegaard just yet. Everybody is kind of assuming and hoping that Tomiyasu and ESR are precautionary. Because I think they were in training, so we've seen that they're in training. Maybe they just weren't good enough to go today and we don't want to risk them because if you don't have Odegaard due to maybe whatever, and people are saying it could potentially be COVID. I think we're just assuming here, but if it is, then you actually can't risk ESR because with no 10 in the North London Derby, it's looking scary, so I think this looks like just a makeshift of what you have. Some people were anticipating Lacazette playing in the 10 role, and that's kind of what it looks like. Regardless, he usually drops in anyway. It just takes away our second 10, which we always really need to progress the ball. And so I'm not sure how we attack today, but having Ramsdale there, I didn't really see the reason to keep Leno in. I saw a lot of people had Leno in, and I didn't really understand that. But this is pretty much as strong as we can go.
Can I say this
go
too
ahead.
about the Leno thing? I do believe that we go with the cup keeper thing. And I do think, oh, wait, COVID confirmed for who? Who are we talking about? Smith Rowe or Odegaard?
I think that's Odegaard.
Here we go. Martin Odegaard has tested positive. And again, we're taking all this from the mentions, the comments in a YouTube stream. So grain of salt. But team news, Martin Odegaard has tested positive for COVID. Said Kolasinac is out with a tight hamstring. Well, that's terrible. Yeah, that's just terrible. So, all right, we're going to get Paz in here. I will get the lineup scrolling down the bottom here. But I think the point is just that, like, the reason I think Ramsdale plays in part is if we had played Leno here, think of how long it would have been since Ramsdale played a game going to the derby. I just think in terms of purely like not playing, suddenly rust becomes a factor, you know, as weird as that sounds for a keeper, but it would have been a lot. I mean, when's our last game? New Year's Day with Ramsdale. So it would have been 16 days since he played a game. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it.
And we lose our distribution. I mean, Leno is a great shot stopper, but I don't think he's way better than Ramsdale in terms of shot stopping. So they're pretty equal there. But what you do lose with Leno is that distribution. And if you have an opportunity to, you know, kick it into the channel behind Trent Alexander-Arnold to Martinelli, you can't do that with Leno, but you can do it with Ramsdale. And as I anticipate us having a difficult time figuring out how to attack, having a goalkeeper that can start the attacks from the back and make the right decisions is probably the better option in today's game.
Yep. Okay, let's get Paul in here. You can find Paul on Twitter. Pause my pants. Pause.
Woo!
How's it going?
Good.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any early reactions to the lineup? I mean, obviously we thought maybe Nuno would start here to just kind of quash whatever it was, but he's decided to go with Tierney. But the way he spoke about Tavares, I really don't think there's a there. I know you thought there might be, and there might still be, but do you think that maybe the way he spoke about him, it's a non-issue?
No, but that's all
right.
Think
it's an issue. Okay.
Yeah, because the fundamental hasn't changed, which is Nuno's still Nuno, and I think that was the original problem. So it's gone for the moment. I mean, there's no reason for Arteta to have an ongoing feud or whatever, but Nuno's still Nuno. So I'm sure Arteta would love Nuno to stop Nunoing, and that wasn't the bad back pass. I think it's just, you know, how he applies himself within the team, within training, and then on the pitch. This is all my speculation. Lots of people will feel differently. We all love Nuno. He's got, you know, seems like a great guy. He's got great skills, abilities. We all want him to be a success. We all want these 6 guys to all come through together. But, you know, if we knew the full story about all the players, we'd probably find out something about one of them, and that one of them might be Nuno and he might not be. So anyway, that's my entire speculation based on the reaction of Arteta. It can't be one terrible back pass and one not tracking as good as he could have. Like he had Tierney lining up 27 minutes in the game. I mean, that's nearly that's a world record for Arteta. You know, there's talk about Martinelli, but that was half time. That was all very tasteful. This was pulling the ripcord. So no, I think there's some there, but he's certainly given plenty more chances. And if Nuno stops Nunoing, whatever that is, I think it'll be fine. In terms of the lineup, I think Lacazette will play the 10. It'll be the double striker thing with Eddie. That'll be my guess. And then Martinelli and Saka where you expect them.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think it is also partly like, I mean, because it's Liverpool, there could be a system change. I mean, do you think, Jess, that maybe there is a special plan for this game specifically because of the way Liverpool play? I mean, I think you'd have to say we've had some good games against some big teams, or at least good performances. Liverpool feels like a team that Arteta has not, and maybe I'm forgetting a game or missing a game. I know we've snuck points at the end where, you know, we're smash and grab stuff, but in general, I feel like Liverpool's been a team stylistically that has really troubled Arteta. Do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is one of the teams that Arteta's really struggled to figure out a way to get anything from. I don't know if it's just the way that Liverpool play, and once they turn up the heat on us, we just can't really compete in that way. Whereas with Man City, we can kind of, we've shown that we can kind of play with them. When Liverpool decide that they want to kick it into the channels and behind you, you have Sadio Mane and Salah doing their thing. It's just a little bit like we can't really keep up. And so I'm not sure that I see a system change necessarily, because I don't see Nuno. I don't see a wing back type of situation here. I see a 4-2-3-1 with Lacazette playing the 10 role. That's really what I see. And it could be like a 4-4-2 as well. Like you could look at it that way with Martinelli and Saka on wide of Lakanga and Xhaka, and then two strikers up front. But really, to me, that's just another version of a 4-2-3-1. So if it's anything, it's a 4-4-2. But I still anticipate seeing Lacazette drop in, because without a 10, we have no connection between the midfield and the players that need to be kicking it in the back of the net.
Yeah. Paul, any speculation as the AVP expert on Karma, whether Karma will play a big role for us today? Maybe off the bench to score a goal?
Because of all that Liverpool shenanigans, you mean?
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Karma will play no role, though I hear we're in for him in the market. Yeah, I think Jess has covered the lineup and structure about right. I think it'll feel 4-4-2-ish. I think Liverpool, I think that's a good call, Elliot, that Liverpool is the team we've struggled with more than, say, even City, because City kind of play like the way we want to play. So there's a certain amount of mirroring, whereas Liverpool's aggressive pressing. I mean, in terms of how we defend, we like to kind of stand off, keep our shape, wait till the opposition coughs up the ball, and then kind of recycle and play it up the pitch. And Liverpool doesn't really let you do that. They just keep coming in waves. And so I think that's the one system that breaks our kind of passive standoff. We won't tackle you. You'll eventually get bored and give us back the ball defensive model. Liverpool just keeps coming, basically.
Yeah. Question coming about any news if Tommy is back for Spurs. I guess the real question is Odegaard, COVID, Smith Rowe. Last we heard out with a tight hamstring. I think there were
groin?
And there were comments from Arteta basically saying he hasn't been able to practice to train the way we need him to be at the level we need him to be. And obviously Tomiyasu, I believe, was a COVID absence. Is that right? So
he also had an injury. It was a tight calf. It was like a tight calf. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's your, if you had to guess, I mean, the funny thing is now that Xhaka and Sambi are back, it feels to me, Jess, like the big fingers crossed for the weekend is either Smith Rowe or Odegaard. We really only need one of them back to avoid doing something like whatever this is with Lacazette and Nketiah, right? Is that how you see it too?
That's exactly how I see it. I think we need at least 110. So whoever it's going to be, somebody needs to show up.
Arthur?
And then
Arthur Melo?
That man, he's not going to have a medical before Sunday. Like, hello, like it's going to take time.
Look, if Liverpool can return 3 false positive COVID tests, we can get a medical done in 24 hours. You know,
Arthur can have a medical before Sunday and catch COVID and get a tight groin. This is the way things are going for us.
That's the funny thing. We could have him in the squad for the NLD, then pull out and warm up, pre-match warm up because he pulls his groin.
Oh my goodness.
Well, let's do just a little of this. Let's give the people what we know they want. And that's transfer speculation because clicks. Jess, I'll stay with you for a second. Vlahovic, yes or no? Arthur, yes or no? Whatever you say, you are committed to for the end of time, and we will use this clip to hound you in your mentions for years to come.
Artur, for sure. We need a body.
For sure do it, or for sure it's going to happen?
I think for sure it's going to happen, and for sure do it. I know that the reports seem very confident that it's going to get done. He's agreed to come. It's a loan. Juventus obviously are going to try to squeeze something else out of it, but I think it'll get done. And I think we need somebody with some experience in there. And of course, it's not fancy and it's not what people want to see because it's not, whoever we really want in the summer. But let's get real. We literally need somebody that can just play football at a good level and just fill in, because Thomas Partey will be back. Jacques is already back. Like, you know what I mean? We just need somebody in there so we're not playing Charlie Patino. And I think he fills that role. There's like this weird thing about, you know, is he good enough? Is he not? I think somebody with Champions League experience that's played at a high level might be somebody that could do a job for us. And that's what we're looking for, somebody to do a job. I don't think there's any obligation or anything to bring him in long term. So I think he's a good option if you couldn't get Gini Wijnaldum on loan, because that was like another option. And then with Vlahovic, I mean, you guys did like an excellent scouting report the other day. I think there's a lot of promise in this kid. I think we're definitely paying for like the finished product if we were to get him, but he's definitely somebody with like star quality, which we just don't have in the team at the moment. We don't have that like presence that we need, and he's scoring goals, and that's really what you want from your center forward. Do I think it's going to happen? I have to be honest. No, I think ultimately the agent is proving to be a little bit of a pickle. And he has a lot of influence over the player, and he's a young player. And even though we're willing to pay and Fiorentina are willing to sell him to us, it's kind of like the agent's like, nah, like he's not going anywhere, not right now. So I don't see that one happening. And if it doesn't happen in January, I don't see it happening in the summer. But I do like that we're going after our number one choice as hard as we can, even though it's going to be, it would be embarrassing if we didn't get him at this point, because it's so out in the open. But I'd like to see that we tried, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I wouldn't do the Wilshere thing. I mean, I think, look, it's kind of thing. Well, I mean, look, if you were playing some like really, really weak team in Europa League knockout stages and you needed a body to throw at the problem, and maybe in cup ties like that, but we're entering the part of the season where by next week, we may only have Premier League games left. And we've seen Jack Wilshere in the Premier League, you know, over a year and a half ago, and he wasn't at the level then. And now he's a year and a half later. I don't think that's a solution. Let me ask you, Paul, Vlahovic, Arthur, will happen on both. And would you do it on both?
Look, I'm no expert on either player, but then
and real quick,
few of us are.
In the chat, give me your comments on whether you would do either deal and whether you think either deal will happen. We'll get them up. We'll get a sense of what people are thinking. Sorry, go for it, Paul.
Yeah, I think Melo's a really interesting signing for us if we can get him on loan. Speaks a bit of Portuguese, little old. He's 25, so getting on in years by our standards. I think he's 26 in August. But I think we'd give him a good look if he were here. Obviously, it would just be a loan, but that opens up the potential. It would also be pretty expensive, I think, if it ever came to a deal, because his transfers have been pretty bloody high. That was back when Barcelona used to pay big money. I don't know what he was, 60 or 80 million euro, a lot. Yeah. So, for a purchase going forward, and I guess I'm thinking about purchases because looking at his YouTube videos, the boy can play. I don't know what he does when he's not making passes. He probably misses a lot of passes and falls over the ball. But when he hits his passes, holy shit, he's got an eye for a pass. He'll find that ball in behind. He's got the Zelalem 360 turn on the ball. Sambi has a bit of that too. Low center of gravity, quick movement. I think he adds something we don't have that maybe Sambi may become in the fullness of time, but Sambi isn't that quite yet now. And he looks like a really good option. Vlahovic, so I definitely do Melo, and I think it looks the most doable for obvious reasons. He's not playing that much. Vlahovic, I'd absolutely do that. I'd throw all the money at them. Again, I'm not an expert on him, but based on what I've seen so far, I'll tell you the one thing I think is about Vlahovic that's great. He carries himself like a striker. Like, I like Isaac. I like other players. I like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But Vlahovic has the cojones of a striker. He just looks like Isaac. You're not quite... If you were new to the lineup and you saw him running around, you mightn't quite know what he was on the pitch. But Vlahovic has that. Yeah. He has that Ruud van Nistelrooy. I don't like him. He's a dick. He must be the striker.
Yes. I mean, I got to say, Paul, like we've had so many of these. Well, maybe the thing with Pepe is that he has to play 9, or maybe the thing with Laka is he's a false 9, or maybe the thing with Martinelli is he's a striker. And like, with all this stuff, I got to say, like, you look at Vlahovic, and the one thing you know is that's a stick-on number 9. Put him up front. Now, we did for patrons a really, really fun video scouting session, Clive and I. And the thing that jumped out at me about him, he's going to take shots. He's going to, get in the box, get on the end of moves. But the way our system works right now, we use that striker as a big part of build up and freeing up the players on the wing. And the thing that stuck out about Vlahovic in this scouting video was the way he dialogues with midfield, the way he can drop in back to the defender, pin them, and flick it off to the wingers running in behind, or, find the way to play in a Martinelli or a Saka. You could just envision watching him. The physicality is there for the Premier League. The dialogue with midfield, like what Lacazette's doing, was there. So that really sort of opened my eyes on him a little bit. And remembering that he is just 21 years old, there's still a lot of growth. Thoughts on PSV striker Eric Shun? Thank you, by the way, HS, for the chat. Jess, I am going to confess that Eric Shun could be a joke about penises here. And I have just played right into HS's clever ploy. So I am going to withdraw my question to you about Eric Shun.
Let me tell you what I'm going to withdraw.
Yeah, well, this could be a Manscaped ad, but HS, I want to say congrats. Usually I don't fall for the Mike Hunt or Ben Dover stuff, but I have full on fallen for Eric Shun. And that is what transfer season will do to you. So I think we can all agree that, ladies and gentlemen,
it's disgraceful.
Got him.
Oh my God. All right, let's move off the transfer speculation for a moment, because as much as that is going to bring in the hashtag clicks, we all agree. Like, the only disagreement on Vlahovic is whether the money is right. Setting the money aside, I think we think that there's a player there that you can go for. The Archer thing just seems sensible, right? We haven't always had the best of luck with midfield loans, but like, we probably need it. It goes well. HS getting all the credit. To be fair, he did pay £1.70 to get me to say erection on the live stream. And here's the thing you should know about me. Just put in the messages, Elliot, please say erection. And I'll say erection as much as you want. Erection. I love saying erection. Please don't clip that video. But let's see. What do we got here? Once you guys are done with the live stream, please donate this donation to Manscaped. Thanks. We can definitely donate it to better things like the Arsenal Foundation, but Medical Study Buddy, thank you so much for not making me say a dirty word. Okay, let's get back to what we actually think about this actual football game that is going to happen. Jess, let me start with you. I mean, they are going strong, but going strong still means no Sadio Mane, no Mohamed Salah. And so, to me, Diogo Jota becomes the really scary guy lining up to face presumably the Cedric side of things. At least if I were them, that's how I would be doing it. Is that really the area of greatest trepidation for us today?
I think so. 100%. It does look like the way that the way that they have this set up, I would imagine that this makes the most sense, where Jota will be running in straight towards Cedric. And that makes a lot of sense. That also throws a little bit of a wrench on Ben White as well, because he's really good with Tomiyasu, but Cedric is not Tomiyasu. And so I would imagine that Cedric is going to have a difficult time today. Hopefully he can run a little bit faster and he's a little bit more like ready to go, hopefully. But the game, it's as strong as they could possibly go, like without their main people. And Firmino is still a class player. Like, I think it's going to be really tough. And I don't really know what to expect, because I think, well, from an atmosphere perspective, I think Anfield is going to be very, very hyped up. The Liverpool fans that I've spoken to over the last couple of days feel as though Arsenal have said that they were cheaters. And so that has rippled across their fan base. And so they're going to be very, very loud. I think also Klopp will be in it. I have this weird thing about feeling like Arteta and Klopp have like this weird thing, like they don't like each other or something. So I think it's going to be a very hyped up atmosphere. And I think we might get a little nervous. I think I don't know who's going to score first or not. I would imagine that they would, but hopefully we can keep it tight. It's really hard to call.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Liverpool versus Arsenal.
Well, of course. Yeah. Well, one of the things we're getting a lot of questions about, Paul, is this situation. Chambers. Do you have any sense of what happened to Chambers? I mean, given that Cedric is bad at, well, here he goes. TM. Let's put the trademark next to this. Bad at football. Why not Chambers? Why can't we get Chambers in? I'm not that Chambers is the answer to anyone's question of how to fix Arsenal, but what do you think happened there? Because he was in position to play a lot more, and now he's kind of vanished.
Well, the thing about Chambers is he is terrible against 1v1 dribblers. Absolutely terrible. Like, I know we think of him as a center back and a defender, and he's defensively strong, and he's added some attacking to his game. But actually, the reason he was in our team was he added a little height defensively. But outside of that, like the one thing you want as a fullback is 1v1. If you look at any of his dribbled against stats, he was the worst, and that was against the worst Bellerin. Like, Chambers is by far the worst 1v1. Just got reamed and creamed. Can't remember which game it was early in the season where he got taken to the cleaners. Like, he's just awful against 1v1s. Yeah, Cedric isn't. Cedric is average. Like, he has his bad days, but we also remember that Cedric's an actual fullback, and he's had a few good days for us. So there's at least hope that he might remember how to do this fullback thing. He knows where to be, what to do. He's a little nippier, quicker defensively. And I know we had a meltdown about him off the last game. I didn't think he was, like, I'm not saying he was good or even okay. I didn't think he was abysmal. Was he abysmal? Or was he just not, we expected more?
I don't like turning these into fights, but I will fight you if you say he was okay.
I mean, there's a clip of him like running.
Get in the chat. Look,
he couldn't run.
Wait, spare me fighting. Nobody likes it when Paul and I argue. Nobody likes it when Dad and Dad argue. Just get in the chat and tell Paul that Cedric was abysmal, please, so we can just put this to rest.
But was he abysmal, or was he just gosh?
Cedric.
Abysmal.
Was he abysmal, or was he just Cedric?
Hang on. Hang on, Paul. I can solve this for you because I saw this online on a video. And you know, like if it's online, it's got to be true. So Cedric was abysmal against Forest. I mean, I don't, you know, I mean, it says it on a screen, so it has to be true, right?
Wow,
like that has to be true.
Jesus, there's a headline for everything. That a Donald Trump
even for
tweet,
Cedric, he was bad. Even for Cedric, wait, we've got all right. Now I'm starting to worry. Ben says Cedric was not abysmal,
no,
but
to
be
terrible.
Fair, Cedric makes me miss Bellerin. 1.76 acres wants to know what abysmal is. Cedric was a misunderstood artist. He was abysmal for Cedric's standards. Matthew is having concerns that he's agreeing too much with Paul these days. Nick thinks he was quite shockingly bad, and Cedric was bad. I don't know. I still think.
Was he bad or was he just?
Wait, look. You know what he does, like, because, and some of this is probably rust, but like literally, like, he hurts our progression up the right-hand side, which inevitably makes Saka like a victim. And so it's a little bit of that where the connecting there is just not right. And then when you add that to just some of his decision-making, he really doesn't need to be on our dead balls. I don't know why he's still there. It's just a lot of things that compound it. He wasn't good to begin with, but then the rust on top of that doesn't make it great. And the fact that Tomiyasu is so good makes it just it's really hard to take.
It's the fall between Tomiyasu and Cedric. I don't know that he was absolutely abysmal against Forest. He just wasn't very good.
I have to admit to only casually observing the Forest game, Paul, so I could be dead wrong.
Whereas Chambers will get absolutely reamed against Liverpool.
Neither of them are very great options. I mean, this is our issue, is that once you scratch the surface and you go past Emile Smith-Rowe, we're kind of looking at, like, what is this?
I think Paul has a point, though. So let's say that, because Paul, I do think you have an important point here, which is I actually think what made Cedric abysmal against Forest is that he was so bad going forward, which is what you expect him to add.
And we won't be doing any of that against Liverpool.
But so here's what I was going to say. I'm about to agree with you. So give me the space to agree with you for a second. This is a very different type of game. We don't need the right back tonight to be a bombing on attack-minded right back. We need him to provide a little of the solidity against Jota. And I actually do think that you're probably right that while Cedric was bad against Forest, it was more that I didn't feel he linked up well and built play well. But defensively, I think I just about trust Cedric more in 1v1s on the edge than I do Chambers. So that is fair. Let's move off of that debate. Yeah.
Let me just quickly say, I think we all think Chambers is good defensively for some reason.
I don't. I think he's better attacking, actually.
Yeah. I think because he's not the person that's on the pitch. We always think the person that's not there is the solution. He's not. He hasn't played in forever ago.
Like, and I think we should be much more scared about Chambers as a fullback 1v1 against Liverpool than we are.
Yeah. So, well, all right, let's get to what actually happens in this game and where we can win. I mean, it's a big call, I think, going with Lacazette and Nketiah. A lot of people are saying we should have gone back 3, Jess, and maybe just, had a 2 in Sambi and Xhaka, and then you can just have Lacazette drop in and try to free Martinelli and Saka on the wings. And then you're not doing this thing where Lacazette is playing 10. The other thing that scares me about it, Jess, I'll be honest, is that Lacazette is going to be really, really important on Sunday. We know how important he is to unlocking our attack. And Spurs have long periods where they lose control of the game and you can have some of the ball. Lacazette playing Thursday, Sunday, given that he does sometimes look like he's carrying a refrigerator on his back, and when he looks like that, he's not as effective. What do you think about the decision to use him in this way in this game? Because I think he's going to have to do a lot of running, a lot of working. We're putting him in a part of the pitch where he's going to have to really be very influential, and he's going to have to run a lot and then run it back on Sunday. So do you think that maybe if we're going to go with this setup, just go with the back 3 and play Nketiah and maybe just give Lacazette the day off?
I think that personally, I think our players can play more than one game a week. I think we have kind of talked ourselves into this thing where it's like, well, if we have a game in the same week, we got to rest our good players and who we need and all this.
That's fair.
Personally, I think Lacazette has done well this season, playing in a slightly congested schedule and being able to go almost 90 minutes, so I think he'll be fine. I mean, we haven't played much. He hasn't played much since the Man City game. He played the last couple of minutes of the game against Forest, didn't really do much. So I think he'll be fine. And I think if it just gets ugly, they'll pull him off and it'll be what it is. But I think these players are professional athletes and they can play more than one game a day or a week. And I also think I think it's almost to their benefit so that they don't get rusty, because it feels like they get rusty quick. Like against Nottingham Forest, they looked rusty. They looked out of fitness, so maybe they having games every 3 or 4 days is okay. And if Lacazette is gassed, then they'll take him out.
I think the other thing is having listened to Scott's Derby preview, Paul, and looking at what Spurs suck at, which is a lot of things because they are shit. They really cannot handle being pressed. And when you do it, they don't get past it. They don't hold the ball. And we've seen lately that Arsenal can add in a press, a really effective press, and play in the attacking half more. We even saw us do it a bit against City, but that takes a lot of energy, and especially away, because the emotion can sap your energy. I guess I am Whiskers. I do worry a lot. And I guess part of my worry comes from just knowing that Lacazette is, as crazy as it sounds right now, one of the most important components to how we activate that pressing system and the way we connect midfield to attack. And I'd want him fully firing this weekend. But am I over-egging the worrying about fitness with Lacazette? Is it just because Clive keeps talking about his meat sweats to me and now it's all seeped into my brain and ruined my understanding of football?
Yeah, very probably. I'm with Jess. I don't think we should be worrying about Lacazette playing 90 and 90 or 60 today and 90, which might be a possibility too, which is I think there's he's got a lot fitter and he can play 2 games in a week. I don't think he should play 2 games week after week after week. That's a whole other thing. But right now he probably needs games more than he needs resting. So, pressing against Liverpool, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. So I think we're going to be sitting back in a bit. if you had Tomiyasu on the pitch, maybe we would be more aggressive. If you Sambi and Xhaka behind a makeshift front four and Cedric on the right, I don't know that that's a recipe for successfully pressing Liverpool at Anfield. So I think we're going to sit in a little bit. I don't know how much running around Lacazette's really going to do in terms of pressing at Anfield. Maybe not so much. So he should have his batteries in reasonable shape for next weekend. And that's why we have our sports science guys. I hope they've met. Only they can know, can Lacazette do Thursday and then Sunday, with Sunday being potentially an aggressive pressing game. I assume they did their analytics and Lacazette's good to go, and I'm not worried about it. And you are Whiskers.
I am Whiskers. I am Whiskers. So then I guess we'll have to see. And I can't help it, guys. I know this is a real game. I know it is a semifinal. I know it matters. I am very, very hung up on the derby this weekend. I can't help it. I do want to just say one thing. Everybody watching, just humor us for 1 second, guys. This was like a life-changing kind of experience. Went to Vegas this past week, met Scott for the first time in person, and had a chance to record in our new studio. And we're going to show you that in a second here, because I think it's really cool. By the way, Jess, did you get a chance to see that?
You guys' studio?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bomb.
Yeah. It was really cool. I'm gonna show that here in just a second. But so, well, before we get to that, Jess, where do you think the battle is won or lost tonight?
Midfield. That's usually where it's won and lost, in my opinion. And I think if you can't get in and amongst Milner and Henderson and Fabinho and make the ball stick and get from one part of the pitch to the next, you're done. And it's just that simple. I think that's kind of where we started to lose the game the first time that we played them. It was just they were kept running through the midfield until we were trying to pass it out of the back, and then boom, they just took it from us. So I think it's the midfield for sure. And then keeping compact and having some sort of game plan of creating chances, because at some point, if you can't defend for 90 minutes, you have to put them under some pressure, per se. So it's kind of like, what is our outlet? How are we going to get up the pitch? And I think this is where Ramsdale becomes kind of important, because he can get you out and make the right decisions when Martinelli is running in behind or Saka's trying to run in behind. And I think Lacazette is also going to be really important, because without a 10, he's all we got, to try to dictate play. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of that midfield and try to figure out how to release pressure at the very least, even if it's not creating chances, releasing pressure. Because if you try to defend for 90 minutes against Liverpool, you're getting slapped.
Yeah. If I could jump in on that, I think Jess did a great job. I think Ramsdale hitting Martinelli in behind TAA, assuming he's playing, and hitting Saka on the other wing to relieve that pressure, get up the pitch. We can't sit in for 90 minutes. We won't be able to press them down their end for 90 minutes. So it's absolutely vital that we can hit them and hurt them. That's what we did against City, right? That's how we got the other end. We countered. We were quality on the ball when we got the ball, and that's what we got to do against Liverpool. Be quality when we get the ball.
Yeah, Paul, I didn't really get to ask you at the beginning. And again, get in the comments about this. I think this is really important. How important is this game to you, not just in the context of there being a derby at the weekend, but partly in context of that, partly in terms of what we're chasing? We did just get dumped out of the FA Cup. And I think the thing that sucks about losing to Forest is it makes this feel more urgent. I think if we had just done our job against Forest, we have a tie against Leicester in the future, we go try to win the derby, and okay, a semifinal and a Mickey Mouse Cup against Liverpool, we lose it, whatever. But now the problem is that you can get into these narratives quickly, being the crisis club. You knocked out of 2 cups in a week. Now you got the derby, and then it feels overly pressurized. So I hate saying how important is this game? You try to win every game you're in, but how do you put this game into its proper context of the season and where we are now?
I think you play the strongest team you can without taking any risks with players, because that's the real risk, right? You hurt somebody. You play Smith Rowe, who has a tight groin in this game, and you crock him. You play Tomiyasu, who's nursing his calf, and Crockham. So I think you play the strongest team you can up to a point, and that point is, could they get hurt physically by playing this game because they're in some kind of red-orange zone. Apart from that, you just go for it. You can't. I won't cry if we're out of the Carabao Cup.
Do you cry over football generally? How much crying would you say you do? The people want to know.
Well, I can tell you that I curl up in a ball and unfold after about 3 days after a really bad loss. It hurts me physically. So that's a kind of a crying. That's a man's slow crying.
This is an interesting question. Setting your crying aside, do you think the narrative of the false positive gate plays a role? Like how much do you think this matters? Like, do you think the players, Jess, care that Liverpool gamed the system and got that game? Like, do you think this is a thing that matters to them, or is this just a fan versus fan narrative on social media?
I think it's a fan thing, but we kind of saw how, and it depends on how you look at it. But when we played against Liverpool the first time around, and Arteta and Klopp got into their little thing, it got the crowd going wild. And that changed the way that Liverpool were going at it. They started coming at us a little bit harder. And so I think if the fans are riled up enough, it could transmit to the players, and they don't have to have false positive gate in their mind. As long as the fans are revving them up, it's kind of like fuel for their engine. So I don't think it's like necessarily like Trent Alexander-Arnold is thinking like, oh yeah, like taking it and all this kind of stuff. I do think the fans play a part in that. And I think also Klopp, because he's the one that got a lot of the stick for it, was, talking about, everybody was talking about how he was just whining and complaining and all of that. So he will have them geeked up for this. He has as strong as he can possibly go. So I definitely think it plays a part. And I guess like when it comes to the whole cup thing I think I like momentum going into big games like the North London Derby. And we did well against Man City, but that feels like eons ago. And we also lost. We lost against Nottingham Forest. You lose today, 3 losses on a bounce with the potential 4th in your biggest game of the season. So I feel like not really stop the rot, or stop it from starting, but just like at least keep it close so that it doesn't become that narrative of like, what are Arsenal doing? They're losing all these games, even though we know they're in different competitions.
Yeah, I just always wonder, and Paul, I'm curious to get your take on this. I think this is a good point. Can we beg that we maintain just a little chill if we lose, we've had one bad performance? This is where I think football narratives can get out of control. Like if we had beaten City, which we should have, I think the Forest game, whatever, the Liverpool game, whatever, we beat City in the league. We're going to be top 4. We're going to go smash Spurs. Now, yes, we felt robbed, but we lose to City, we lose to Forest, we lose to Liverpool. The narrative is club in crisis, Arsenal on a slide, yada, yada, yada. And then you go into the Derby, and suddenly you feel like you're a bad result away from all the goodwill that had been built up. I mean, think of how we felt after the City game. We felt hurt, but emboldened by the performance. And now suddenly it could be Arteta's season crumbling. It's weird how these things shift so quickly. And so I think it's funny, right? If we lose tonight, if we lose heavy 4-0 and beat Spurs in the Derby, no one will care about the League Cup or the FA Cup. So it is really hard for me because I think whatever people want to pretend or say or believe, what happens on Sunday is going to trump it. If we stomp Liverpool tonight and lose in the Derby, no one's going to feel good. And so I'm just trying to put myself in the mindset of where we're going to be on the heels of that result, right? Isn't it really the case that this League Cup would be nice and winning a cup is obviously always great? No one's going to feel good if Sunday doesn't go our way. So I don't know. I'm okay. Look, Leon and I got to admit, I know people hate this. I'm on the same boat. I feel like it's a free hit, but I know a lot of people don't feel the same way.
Well, it's not a free hit in the sense that, let me put it a different way. There are no free hits. There are no fully priced hits. We don't really have a choice. Like there is no choice of do this thing or don't. Like you just got to play the best team you have. What are we going to do? Rest these guys? Look at the bench, right? Yeah. So there's no dilemma here. We feel as fans there's a dilemma. Then so that's all. And
what's a good result?
Losing 2-1 would be very nice.
Okay, there you go. That's
but
optimism.
I think there's two things going on. There's what's going on with those fans, and then there's what's going on in the team. And
yes,
they're not worried about all of this stuff. They look around the dressing room, and as soon as Tomiyasu is there, and as soon as Smith Rowe and Odegaard are back in, and they have a midfield they're like, okay, it's go time. It's none of this narrative shit about what happened at Forest and what happened at this and what happened at that and momentum. Like, momentum's a bit of a thing, but there's nothing like the momentum of seeing all the guys back in the dressing room and you're ready to go.
I want to be clear on something too, because Ryan makes a good point. Says, so what do we do, Elliot? Throw the game? Every game you play to win every game. I want to be clear about something, right? All I'm saying is I would make choices about who to start, how long to use them, and who to sub, with the thought if I were manager, which means, we'd be relegated by now already. But if I were, the way I'd pick tonight's lineup and use subs and take guys off or whatever would be with the idea in the back of my mind that the most important thing is that I'm positioned for Sunday the way I want to be. And if that meant I had to make a choice tonight that I consider suboptimal or less than perfect, I'd be willing to make that trade-off. I wanted to show this real quick, by the way.
So, about to get started here.
Mute this. So this was the studio in Las Vegas. This is the Blue Wire studio we recorded in that they built for us out there. And it is right on the floor of the Wynn. Really just a life-changing and awesome experience. And I want to say thanks to everyone, because if we didn't have people that listen, if we didn't have people that cared about the show at all, this would never have been built. And Paul and Jess, I know you'd love to get out there and get in there sometime, so we'll have to make that happen. But I assume you saw the show, but this was a really cool thing. Paul, you sufficiently impressed by what we got out there?
Yeah. I'm thinking I might need to jazz up my back wall here. That is it. I mean, I've seen it before, but every time I see it, I'm like, wow. Ooh,
it's fancy.
Yeah. It is fancy. I just wanted to show that because the best thing I could say about it is thank you to everybody, because we wouldn't have this if it weren't for everybody. So it was a once in a lifetime kind of thing. I can't wait to get out there more. Maybe we'll be able to get some really cool guests out there, do some of our live shows from that studio right on the floor of the Wynn. So a really cool thing. So let's start to wrap up with just some predictions. I want everybody to get their predictions in for the game. I guess I think part of the reason that I've been so weird about this game too, guys, is the derby gives me heart palpitations. I almost can't watch it. That's how upsetting I find the derbies. I find myself that nauseated by them, the tension of them. So I'm already in that headspace, but this is an important game. I do understand that it matters. Let's get your predictions in. Jess, what's your expectation? What would you take? What do you expect? What's going to happen?
I would consider anything like a 2-0, a 2-1, a 1-1, somewhat that would be a victory for me. Some because we could look forward to the next, round, and people won't be saying that we got killed and slapped and all of that. I see a 3-1 though. I think it's going to be a very difficult evening for this team, because you can't rotate very much without actually making the team weaker. So this group is going to have to kind of go forward. And with the lineup that I saw for Liverpool, if they decide to turn up the heat, even without Salah and Mane, I think it's going to be a very difficult task. So I think it's going to be a 3-1, but I would take a 2-0 or a 2-1 or something like that, just to keep it close.
Yeah, I got to admit, Paul, this is where I think we got really screwed by Liverpool, because I don't think if we had played that first leg when it was scheduled, with the players we had available at the time and the players they have available at the time, there's no way at home, there's no way we get pumped in that game. And there's a chance we get something from that game. And then even if we lose to Forest, we're going into a second leg tonight with a chance to go through, feeling like it's pretty good. We did all right, fine, whatever, the derby's in the weekend. But now we have this weird situation where we don't have that good feeling first leg under our belt. We didn't get the chance to play their really weakened team and do okay. We could get pumped by them at Anfield. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's what I think will happen. And then you go into a situation where whatever happens Sunday, you got to play this second leg next week. And it just that game feels like it could have really weird. It's at the Emirates. What will it mean? I don't know. So what do you think happens tonight? And how important is it that we stay in the tie for the second leg? Because I don't know, that game feels really weird to me. Following the derby at home against Liverpool, maybe being in a situation where we're trying to recover from a bad first leg, I don't know if I'm trying to say anything. I'm not sure I'm saying anything that makes any sense. I want to be clear. It's not my job to make sense. My job is to click the comments and let other people talk. So that's what I'm doing. Paul,
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. Look, I'll go to the easy part of your question, your ramble, which is,
thank you.
We'll get beat 2-0. I'd accept 2-1. What's gone is gone. Water under the bridge. If we'd played them before, maybe we'd have another injury or two in this game, and we'd look even more impoverished, and it'd be more of a humiliation. It's better to play the second leg at home. So things balance out a little bit. Like, I agree with you. I think would have loved if they'd had to play us then and taken their medicine, as we're having to take our medicine now away from home. But hey, we'll get the second leg and we'll know what we have to chase. We just have to keep this as close as possible. 2-0, 1-0, 2-1. There's no away goals in this competition, as I understand it. Well, no benefit of away goals. So, if we can keep it to 1-0, 2-1, keep it interesting, keep the momentum going, have a reasonable performance, do a bit of counter-attacking in this, put on a little bit of an attacking display and get home, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I do want to say, by the way, thank you for being here with us. I mean, it is such a pleasure doing these. I love these because we get to interact and we get to have a little fun and laugh a little bit, and it's not always so serious. I hope whatever happens, we have to be united as a community on Sunday. So I'm going to back the lads, as they say tonight, to get the job done. But I'm also going to accept that whatever happens tonight, the old enemy at their toilet bowl is the focus for me. So I know a lot of people don't feel that way. That's just how it is. I think Liverpool always provide a unique kind of challenge that I don't think we've always handled very well, but I'd love to see us do it tonight. And I maybe even get to see some debuts for some young kids. I mean, maybe not, but we'll see. I think we should leave it there and everybody can get ready to watch. We'll have an instant reaction on Patreon at full time, and then the main pod tomorrow, and more of these. Jess is going to be doing some really, really cool videos on our YouTube channel. So Jess, thank you so much. Jess on Twitter, it's Jessinho.
Thank you for having me. See you guys later.
See you shortly. Paul's on Twitter, Pause My Pants. Pause, I will chat with you on the instant reaction.
Yep.
Awesome. Paul's on Twitter, Pause My Pants, as I just said. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I got a feeling this could be an interesting game, but the most important thing is that we come through it united and look forward to the hated enemy on Sunday. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy the game. I hope you're doing well, staying healthy, staying happy, staying safe. We do love you, as we always say, and we will talk to you. Come on. After Arsenal 10, Liverpool 0.